In this video, I'm going to be breaking down recent winner Scottie Scheffler's swing to find out what makes it work, why are his hands so high, why are his feet all over the place, and be sure to stick around to the end because I'm going to be headed to the range to talk about what parts of Scottie's swing you can incorporate into your own game to help you play better next time. Oh yeah, and if you could like and subscribe, that really would help as well. At address, Scottie Scheffler's in perfect posture, so his backside's not too far behind his heels. The back of his trail arm is sort of sat right above the balls of his feet. He's nice and in balance. He stood really tall, which is great. Face on, he's got the sort of ball in line with his right ear, which is perfect ball position, and he actually has quite a weak grip by today's standards, something he works on a lot with his coach, I think, carrying around one of those grip trainers. As we start to take the club away, what's really noticeable with Scheffler's swing is how wide he takes the club back. His right arm doesn't bend much until really late in the swing, which gives him a position where his hands are basically as far away from the golf ball as they possibly could be, which is something you've got to try and do if you're looking for club head speed. He creates this big triangle above his right shoulder, which means his swing is quite upright. He's got a flat left wrist and a neutral to slightly open face. But what really stands out here is how Scottie doesn't really create any depth in his backswing. His hands sort of just go straight up, which for a normal player would cause problems with fades and slices. But to counter that, this is where we really see the magic of Scheffler's swing. What he does is he has the biggest hip shift in the downswing that we see pretty much in professional golf, I would guess, where his hips have moved like maybe 8 inches from where they were at the top, which is enormous. And what that results in him being able to do is get his arms down, get the club down into a really neutral position. This is absolute perfection, where he's got the shaft running just along his right forearm. The next frame on is absolutely perfect. You never would have thought that his hands were so high because he's got it in such a sort of neutral to slight draw position into delivery. And then he hits this A1 perfection impact where his hips are open, his shoulders are square, his forearms are closed. And then from here, this is where we sort of see the crazy leg position that he achieves through the ball. Now, the reason his feet slide out from under him so much is because he's driving his legs so hard. He ends up in this pretty wild position. We've all seen it on TV where his feet are all over the place. And that has just happened because he's driving his hips so much. Ignoring his wacky feet position, what is really impressive through here is how extended he is. So extended left leg, extended hips, extended spine, extended arms. And what that does is it allows him to hit the ball really high, which gives him that control with his irons, which is just pretty much as good as we've ever seen. Loads of power, loads of width, loads of extension. It really is a textbook swing. First things first, I want to talk about Scottie's posture. As I mentioned in the video, his angles are all really well. He's really stood in balance at address. The way he stands to the ball is going to allow him to make a really athletic swing. Key things that I pointed out was actually he doesn't have a tremendous amount of hip hinge. What he does is he has quite tall legs, a very soft knee flex. His backside sort of is only a couple of inches behind his heel. That's a key point. Don't stick your backside out too much. You want your backside to just sit just beyond your heels. And you want to stand tall enough so that if you hung the club down from the back of your trail arm, club's just going to hang down, touch the knee, hang above the balls of the feet. And from this position, I'm able to turn back, make big swings and not come out of that posture. If I sit down like this, and get into that sort of athletic posture where I've got a good amount of hip hinge, there's no way I can swing and stay in these angles. There's too much tension in my lower back and my hamstrings for that to work. Generally, people who stand like this, they're always going to stand up at address, and that's going to cost them strike issues. So always start in a good posture. The second thing I think Scottie does really well that I think you could copy and would help your game is his width and the length of arc. And by that, I mean the distance the club head travels before it gets to the top of the swing. Now, the further the club head travels, the faster you're going to swing generally, because there's just more time to create speed on the downswing. And what you see in Scottie's swing is, as he takes the club back, his right arm stays really straight for a really long time, and that allows him to reach the club as far back as he can really late, and he gets into a position at the top where his right arm hasn't bent anywhere near 90 degrees. A lot of amateur golfers keep that right arm too tucked and too bent, and then what that creates is a narrow position where the club head hasn't actually travelled very far, where compared to that sort of Scottie position where the hands are up above the head, the right arm is not very bent, then the swing is effectively much longer, just because of how much further the club head has travelled. And what we see is actually he also does a great job of extending his arms for as long as possible on the way through. And again, having this such a wide arc, such a long swing, is just going to give him more and more club head speed. And the other thing it does is it helps him hit the ball really high. So Scottie's iron play has pretty much been the best we've ever seen recently, certainly in the past 2 or 3 years. That's all thanks to the height he hits the ball and how much control that gives him. His ball stops on the green, whether he's hitting a 9-iron or a 4-iron, compared to where a lot of amateurs hit the ball quite low and they can't get the ball to stop. He's playing darts and you're more like bowling. It's much harder to know where the ball's going to stop if you can't get it to spin and stop where it lands. So he's just got a huge advantage over the people who hit the ball really low. So final thing that's worth talking about with Scottie's swing is his leg drive. So we all know that Scheffler doesn't create much depth in his backswing. So he doesn't get his arms around him like McIlroy does. His hands go straight up. Now, if you want to do that, or if you already do that, the only way to make it work in a way where you're not going to swing down really steep over the top and slice it is if you have a really powerful leg drive. Because what the leg drive allows you to do from that high position is it allows you to delay your shoulders opening. It allows you to get the club more down on line. And then it allows you to hit that good impact position. If you're a flat swinger, it's not recommended that you have that massive leg drive because you will just drop the club too far inside and fat it and hook it. Where if you're a slicer, if you're in that high position and you don't want to change it, what you've got to do in order to hit a draw or hit it straight is you've got to drive your legs, because that allows you to pull the club down, get into that neutral position, and then hit the ball. So what we see with Scottie is he's up here, he gets his hands up really high, and then he drives his hips more than anyone we've ever seen. But that gets him into an impact position where his arms are straight, the club path has come neutral because he's been able to get his arms down, and he's able to just like extend through the ball and hit whatever shot he wants to hit. Scottie's one of the guys who we sort of see hits fades and draws and high and low. He really manipulates the flight. And that's all done through good hands and good arms, but none of that would be possible if he didn't drive his legs as much as he does. Now, the result of the leg drive is his feet are all over the place. He's often slip sliding around. It's not recommended at all. That's just sort of a quirk of his technique. You definitely, if you're not driving your legs that much, then you definitely shouldn't, your feet shouldn't be moving all over the place. So it's not something to copy, but it's just something to be aware of. If you're an upright swinger, more leg drive gives you more time to get the club down into a neutral place and hit those straight shots.